Hey everyone, welcome to the Divinity Original Sin, the board game highlight video series, and this one is about something that's probably a little more of a
it's not really a game
play
mechanic.
Style. Yeah, it's a play style.
It's more of a style of game,
It's called the Chronicle System. It's something that Lynnvander Studios came up with and put together.
Yeah, and we have a couple of different games that use this idea, but in different ways.
And Divinity gets to be the inaugural, the maiden voyage of this particular series. So we hope you like it.
Chronicle System game.
It is born out of game systems or game lifestyles like legacy games. The thing about legacy games that we find interesting and thrilling is that the legacy games actually, as you play them, you are modifying them in a permanent way to affect the future of your gameplay.
Yeah, which is essentially like making choices that have permanent consequences.
Permanent consequences. I love those things, but I actually a little OCD, and I had a problem with destroying the game. And I know there's ways you can go about doing it so that you don't do that.
Some of them have reset packs, but it's not really the same. And the whole point of Legacy is to make something that is yours. It is unique.
Yes, and so this particular
to make your mark on that game, right?
Right. This one, you don't destroy the game. You actually play the game, and we've done it in a way that you can actually reset the game and play again, and make meaningful choices that have permanent consequences that then get reset in your narrative.
Yeah. And we do this by keeping track of the Chronicle score sheet.
Yeah, so there's one sheet that gets modified a lot, and that is your character cards. This is your save file. Yeah. This is the thing that you can actually, you write down all your skills, and your talents, and your name. You actually modify this sheet. Some players are probably going to find a way to laminate these or something to, you modify this sheet and you'll be able to, we're going to give you a lot. You can download a PDF online, and then these sheets are basically, you can store them away, put the game back to normal, come up with a different play group, use different sheets, come back out, bring the sheet out, reset everything the way it was, and continue your adventure. Now, the Chronicle System is not just a non-destructible legacy game. It actually is something a little bit further. Throughout the game,
because you're making your mark on your game by recording your choices and having those choices create different branching paths in your story.
This is great.
But there are lots of other ways that this plays out, and the big one is that when your game is done, your choices are going to affect other products.
Oh yeah. For example, there's one of the locations that tell you to check off box 1. Other locations say check off box whatever. There's a whole key grid on the sheet, and you can see the sheet here we're putting on the screen. There's a whole key grid there that certain events and choices tell you to check off certain points. What's crazy is those points may never come back to interact with you.
Well, you might make a choice that doesn't actually impact, if your story then goes a different direction, you may never encounter the ramifications of that choice, but you might also. You don't really know.
You don't know what it is.
Some choices you understand and some you don't necessarily.
Right. Here's another thing. So the council building, for example, you come back to the council. You come to the council building at the beginning. There's times you come back to this council building, and it has various numbers, 11, 12, 13, and it tells you which letter of Gargale to put in. Council building F goes in there. You don't know what actions you made to allow that F to be there, which is crazy.
So now it will have different text on the back because it will have changed in your absence.
What's this card here? O2.
So this means that this is a locked location. It's got the X of chains over it. You can't flip this card when you explore a location unless you have that key event.
So if you come to this location, you're not going to come back to this location. If you come to this location and you can't unlock it, for the rest of the game, you'll never know what was behind this.
I mean, probably.
So you're going to want to go back and, well, maybe. You actually might have to come back to it. You never know.
Yeah.
But the crazy thing is, you'll want to play again just to find out what decision tree. Now, I know there's like different endings, and so you could get through the entire game and have a whole bunch of bosses that you never even encountered. Yeah. And you're going to be like, what happened?
There are at least 4 main endings, and likely you're only going to see about 25 to 30% of the content of the game in a single play, depending on the branching nature of your choices. Which means that by the time you get back to, recording all of your choices, even though the game has this sprawling campaign, it's fully resettable. You just get a new Chronicle score sheet and you can start fresh.
And then there's my favorite, which is what happens afterward when you've completed the game. The key chart has it's a visual path, a data path of what you did throughout the game.
Yeah.
You get to go to a website that will be launching after this game is released, and then with a special code, you get to go in there, and one time you get to record all of your data points.
Yeah.
We will then be able to take those data points, merge them together with other players and the decision trees that they've made, the characters they've chosen, the paths they've chosen to take, the choices they made, the consequences they've faced, and those data points will merge together to create statistical data that will tell us what the majority of the players who played this board game did. Why is that important?
Well, because now, instead of just making your mark on your own campaign, you and everyone else your marks together make a mark on the future of the game.
Future seasons. So we'll release like a, Divinity Original Sin, the board game season 2. And for example, I like to use this as an example. If 80% of the player base burnt the end down in Chapter 3. I'm not saying there's an end in Chapter 3 or that there is even a Chapter 3. But if 80% of the player base burnt the end down in Chapter 3, then in Season 2, you can betcha that the end is burnt as a smoldering ash heap.
And there'll be a little bit of an intro to tell you what the canon story is
and why
now.
that happened. But what's crazy is that if you're of that 20% that didn't burn the end down, you're going to be like, well, what decisions did we make to not do that?
Yeah, that's...
You go back and play
we never even knew there was an end.
And what's crazy about the Chronicle System as well is that if you lose in this game, like if you die and you have a total party kill, it's not over. The decisions of you failing a mission actually has a different decision tree. You could go through the whole game losing fights and have a whole different ending.
I mean, you probably won't. But
well, no, but I mean, like, I kind of want to go through and just like start losing fights.
Well, if your dice luck is bad enough,
just to find out what happened, right? And so that's the Chronicle System in a nutshell. It's an ever living, ever growing, ever participating by you, the backers and the fans, to help us develop the living story of Divinity, the Original Sin. And
I mean, this is your chance to help shape the future of the universe, which I think is super cool.
Now, the story that you're going to see in the playthrough video isn't the story you're going to get in the game. This is something we fabricated to allow you to see the system because we don't want to give away the sensitive story that's coming out. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
For joy, here we go. Extended universe.
Thanks for checking us out.